पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं वादरायणं सूत्रभाष्य कृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Verse number 170. I chant slowly, slowly, and just follow me. स्वप्ने अर्थ शून्ये सृजति स्वशक्त्या भोक्त्यादि विश्वं मन एव सर्वं तथैव जागृत्यपि नो विशेषः तत्सर्वमेतं मनसो विजृंभणम्. I chant one more time. स्वप्ने अर्थ शून्ये सृजति स्वशक्त्या भोक्त्रादि विश्वं मन एव सर्वं तथैव जागृत्यपि नो विशेषः तत्सर्वमेतं मनसो विजृंभणम्. See the translation. In the dream state, even though there is no contact with the outside world, the mind alone projects the entire dream universe of enjoyers, etc. Similarly, the waking state is no different. All this world of phenomenon is but a projection of the mind. See the one more time translation. In dreams, when there is no actual contact with the external world, the mind alone creates the whole universe, consisting of the enjoyer, etc. And similarly, in the waking state also, there is no difference. Therefore, all this phenomenal universe is a projection of the mind. The power of the mind is being explained in details. If there is mind, then there is a world. If there is no mind, then there is no world. The world is effect of the mind. The world is shadow of the mind. This is the principle. This is the foundation. Always remember, if mind is, then world is. If there is no mind, then no world. In our scriptures, it is written, God has no mind. Amana. God has no mind. That is why there is no word for God. Only godliness. Nothing else. No desire for God. No achievement. No misery. No pain. Because God has no mind. Mind has like a gateway to the world. Shankaracharya now giving explanation about this principle to make us understand. He gave two examples and very practical. You can verify it yourself. No need any scriptures. Very simple, very practical. Anyone can try it. So first way is the dream state. In dream state, mind works. The presence of the mind is very strong. We can say that in dream state, there only mind is. In dream state, there are no worldly objects, no gross objects. Which we say actual. We say the objects are actual. The objects are not in dream state. And no sense organs to perceive them. In waking state, the method is very simple. Mind works through sense organs and it gets knowledge. But in dream states, there is no objects, no sense organs, but we experience everything. Our experience of the dream world is not different from the waking state. The intensity of the dream experience is equal. Dream experiences are as real as waking state's experience. We cannot make any difference. Their intensity, their capacity to make miserable, to make happiness, to make happy is same. Without real objects, without sense of organs, the dreamer gets same experience as waking states gives us. How does these experiences happen? Without objects, without sense organs, how does these experiences happen? Shankaracharya says, Swapne Artha Sunne. In dream state, there is no object. Artha Sunne, there is no object. No gross objects. Artha Sunne. But in that state, mind becomes very strong. Because there only mind is working. Mind has so much capacity to create the world as God has. So it does not require any help from anywhere. Shankaracharya says, So Saktya Srajati. The mind creates all things in dream state. Like in waking state, we have tried knowledge, knower, and known. knowledge is a connection which connects knower and known. In dream state also, same things happens. There is a knower, we call it dreamer. We call it dreamer. Swapnadrishta, who sees the dream worlds. It is a dreamer. It is very different from the experiencer of the waking state. Dreamer is a different, waker is a different. So mind creates dreamer and dream objects and experience connect. So mind becomes dreamer, mind becomes objects in dream state, and mind becomes knowledge. These three forms mind takes. There is no other than mind. Bhoktradi Vishwam Manayev Sarvam, Shankaracharya says, everything is only mind. There is no object, no dreamer, no dream knowledge. But everything is because of the mind. Vishwam Manayeva Sarvam. If we understand this philosophy, then we have to come in waking state. Tathaiva Jagrat Tapino Visheshaha, Shankaracharya says, same way, in waking state, only mind is projected. In waking state also, only mind is projecting everything. If mind does not project, then world becomes meaningless. If you don't project, the world has no taste. The world will lose its taste. So mind projects. That is why a realized person also living the same world, same reality, but their mind stops projecting. So that is why they have no interest. World is going on, everything is working, everything is as previous they were, but he had no interest because his mind is not projecting anything. That is why the world is meaningless for them. For us, world is very meaningful. A very small thing is very meaningful to us. But for realized person, even heaven also had no meaning because mind does not project. So all thing is connect to projection of the mind. The realized person, he knows the truth of the things as it is they are. The realized person knows the reality of the objects. So he can stop projecting of the mind. And the world is very different for them. Shankaracharya says, Tathaiva Jagrat Tyapino Vishesha Sarvam Etat Sarvam Manaso Vijrimbana. In waking state also, these objects which we are looking, we are interested, we are attached. He says nothing, just projection of the mind. They have no reality. Your mind gives them reality. Your mind gives them power. They becomes alive. They becomes more powerful than you because projection of the mind. Shankaracharya says, Sarvam etan manaso vijirimbanam. This is the manifestation of the mind. Next one. Susupti kale manashe praline नैवास्ति किंचित सकल प्रसिद्धे अतो मन कल्पित एव पुंसः संसार एतस्य न तु वस्तुवस्ति. I repeat, सुषुप्ति काले मनसे प्रलीने नैवास्ति किंचित सकल प्रसिद्धे अतो मन कल्पित एव पुंसः संसार एतस्य न वस्तुतोस्ति. See the translation. Translation says, in deep sleep, the mind is reduced to its causal state and nothing perceivable exists as is proved by the universal experience of all people. Therefore, man's world of change is just the creation of his own mind and has no objective reality. See the translation again. Shankaracharya says, in dreamless sleep, when the mind is reduced to its causal state, there exists nothing for the person asleep. As is evident from universal experience, hence man's relative existence is simply creation of the mind and has no objective reality. Now, Shankaracharya says another way. As he promised in previous verse, there is a two way. To prove that the world is nothing more than projection of the mind. One, he says about dream state. Another is dreamless state. So Shankaracharya says, if mind is not presence, then there is no world. In dream state, nothing is required, only mind is enough to do anything, everything. Now, the second way is non-existence of the mind. Same principle, he's describing another way. He says, see the example of dreamless states. Then what happened? In deep sleep state, what happens? In waking state, everything will be in waking state. Your sense organs, your mind, intellect, everything in waking. In dream state, all organs merged into mind. And in deep sleep state, there is no mind. In that state, mind has no existence. And this thought is based on universal experience of the all people. It is not just preaching. It is giving very practical logic, very practical experiences you can apply. You can understand very easily. What happens in dream state? Sushupti kale manashe praline. In dream places sleep, there is no mind. That time, mind goes back to its cause for rest. Mind also become tired, always thinking, always thinking, always thinking, continuously. So becomes tired. Mind also want rest. And in that state, he goes back to its cause, and having merged mind into its cause, then nothing remains. There is no any experience, neither gross objects experience, nor subtle objects experience. In waking state, our experience is based on gross objects. In dream state, we experience subtle objects. But in that state, a state of sleepless, dreamless sleep, no experience. Because there is no mind. And this state, it is proved by the universal experience of all people. Everyone knows this state. Beyond mind, some yogis in their samadhi state, they experience mindless state. But everyone cannot experience that state. So this cannot be an example. Shankaracharya gave example which is suitable for everyone. Everyone can understand this example. When in the morning we says, I did not know anything. I slept very well. I rested. So everyone has this experience. When someone is in dream state and deep sleep state, for him there is no world, no subtle world, no gross world. But for other people, world is its place. For other people's world is working in the same way. Nothing has changed. But who is in the deep sleep, he has nothing. No experience. Therefore, the universe, it may be gross or subtle, it's just creation of the mind. Shankaracharya says, Nayavasti king ato mana kalpita eva punsam sansar etasya namastutosti. Therefore, the universe means in two levels. It may be gross, like waking states objects. It may be subtle, like imaginations and dream states objects. These all objects are because of mind. Mind projects and objects are in front of you. Ato mana kalpita eva punsa sansara etasya namastutosti. So the object is, what is the proof? Is there chair? What's the proof? Chair could not be a proof itself. Other chair also could not be proof because other chair also inert. Inert cannot be proof. So this word existence of the universe is not self-evident. It needs some support from consciousness, experience. You can say, I saw there was chair. So you have the proof. I saw there was a tree. You are the proof. You can prove any inert objects cannot prove any other objects. So universe is, what is the proof? Inert objects cannot be proved. So you are the proof. Sansara etasya na vastutosti. So one inert object is not proof for other objects. It required consciousness. Consciousness could be proof for words. And consciousness does not proving anything. It requires mind. So in deep sleep, there is no mind. That is why there is no word. And dream states, there is nothing but mind is working. So there is some everything. Shankaracharya says, it's a sansara etasya na vastutosti. So the objects, they have no objective reality. Objects have no objective reality. They are because you are. They depend on you. Your mind projects and you accept. That's the word. Nothing else. Your mind projects and you accept. That's the word. Next one. Vayuna nite megha punaste neva niyate manasha kalpate bando mokshaste neva kalpate. I repeat. Vayuna niyate megha punaste neva niyate manasha kalpate bando mokshaste neva kalpate. The translation is, the wind gathers the clouds together and the wind itself scatters them, so too the mind is responsible for bondage and also for liberation. Very interesting. See the translation. Clouds are brought in by the air and again driven away by the same agency. Similarly, man's bondage is caused by the mind and liberation too is caused by that alone. Very interesting. Enjoy the thoughts of Shankaracharya. Now the question arises, what does it mean for liberation? Mind is means for the world. Very simple. So mind will lead us into the world. So what does it mean for liberation? How to achieve the ultimate goal? Because mind is against us. And there is no other means seems to for liberation. What one should do for liberation? So common man thinks mind is obstacle. So just kill the mind. Finish the mind. Mind is the obstacle. He says, Sankaracharya says, no, mind is very strange. Mind is very wonderful. Mind is very unique, incomparable. Mind is very, very, very powerful. Even Lord Sri Krishna in Gita said in 10th chapter, Arjuna, among the sense organs, I am the mind. Among the organs, I am the mind. Mind is a God. God does not have minds. But for us, mind is like God. God says, I am the mind. So respect mind. Understand the mind. Don't fight with mind. Understand the mind. Understand its nature, how to work. So there is significance of the mind. As we know, liberation can happen only through knowledge. There is no other way. Jnana devatu kaivalyam. Ignorance is the bondage. Knowledge is the liberation. And knowledge can happen only through the mind. So don't kill. Don't try to kill minds. Sankaracharya says, liberation could be achieved by only knowledge. That is reason. Mind is the only way to achieve liberation also. Like we have a ladder. You have a staircase in your house. So one staircase you use going up and coming down. There are no different ladders, different staircase for coming up, going down. One staircase. You use both ways. We can use both ways. If you want to go up, use the staircase. And same staircase we use when we want to come down. So, like staircase could be used both ways. Your mind is also like a staircase, like a ladder. We have to understand its nature, its property, its secret. For a seeker, this is a very big task. Don't follow blindly to control the mind, control the mind. You will be defeated. Your defeat is certain. See, understand its nature, its property. So all secrets of the bondage and the liberations are hidden in the mind. All secrets of bondage, of liberation are hidden in the mind. So mind is a very big issue. Here, he is giving an example of here, which is called for creation of destruction of clouds. Very simple example. Same agency. Here, creates, gathers clouds and driven again clouds. Here is the same. So he gave example, very simple example. Clouds are brought in by the winds and scattered by the same agency. The air is cause for both. In different time, same, your minds is cause for bondage and same mind is cause for liberation. Very interesting, very significant. See, inert object cannot tie you. Any inert object, all objects are inert, no doubt. How can they tie you? They cannot act. They are inert. Any activity is not possible there. One book cannot tie another book. One chair cannot bind another chair. One table cannot tie another table because there is no activity, they are inert. If there is a bondage, it means you are there. This bondage does not happen because of objects. It happens because of you. So, inert object cannot bind you. Then how is it possible that inert objects bind to consciousness? Very strange. Miracle, actually miracle. Objects can bind you. How can they bind you? You are consciousness. They are inert. So very strange. This is a miracle. That miracle happens because of mind. Mind does bondage and mind does liberation. Mind projects bondage and mind projects liberation. I use the word projects of liberation. You will understand after some time. So see, inert objects are different. The consciousness are different. They are both very different natures. Their nature is very different. They cannot live together. They cannot be together. But see the miracle of the mind. When mind comes between consciousness and objects, then what happens? Mind creates misconception about consciousness and about objects also, both sides. It creates misconception. Like, I am incomplete. I will die. I am limited. So this misconceptions happens in consciousness because of the mind. Then I need something to fulfill this gap, this cavity. Then mind projects that these objects can give you completeness. When we desire to fulfill our incompleteness, immediately mind gives you option. Take these objects, you would be complete. Automatically, attachment will happen. Attachment will happen. Next one. देहादि सर्व विषय परिकल्प रागम बदनाति तेन पुरुषं पशुवत् गुणेन वैरस्य अत्र विषवत् सुविधाय पश्चात् एनं विमोचति तन्मन एव बन्धात्. I repeat. देहादि सर्व विषये परिकल्प्य रागम बदनाति तेन पुरुषं पशुवत् गुणेन वैरस्यम अत्र विषवत् सुविधाय पश्चात् एनं विमोचयति तन्मन एव बन्धः. See the translation. This mind causes man's attachment for the body and the sense objects. The attachment bind him like an animal that is bound by ropes. Therefore, thereafter, the same mind creates distaste for the very same sense objects as though they were poison and liberates man from this bondage. See that one more time translation. It first creates an attachment in man's body, all other senses, objects, and binds him through that attachment like a beast by means of rope. Afterwards, the same mind creates in the individual an utter distaste for the sense objects and free him from the bondage. Shankaracharya says, how mind does it, how bondage happens, and how liberation happens. See the miracle of the mind, game of the mind. It plays with us. That is why God does not have, and is happy. That is why He is God. He enjoys godliness. We have mind. We suffer. The game is minds very tough. Objects itself are not cause for misery. See the philosophy. See the method. How it's happened. Shankaracharya is describing. Objects itself are not cause for miseries or happiness. Objects are different from consciousness and they are very different opposite natures. And one more thing, the creation of the God is not bound us. The creation of the God is earth, water, space, fire. It is bound us? No. They are neutral. And consciousness is also free. So objects which are created by God and consciousness, you, both were separate, no problem. And then comes mind. And it makes all differences. It creates attachment in individuals for body and other sense objects. Mind creates, as we are talking about, incompleteness. Mind says you are not complete, you are individual soul, you are this much. You may die. You may lose. So that is why we want to grasp objects. And we so tightly, we do not want to leave them. These are boundaries. So see our foolishness. We want objects to capture, but we don't want to leave. So, Dehadisa Vishaya Parikalpiragam. The mind comes with you, and then comes attachment with the body and with other objects. Fulfill their desires. The individual soul thinks, if I achieve this or that, then I would be happy. The mind binds soul by objective attachment. So see, objects are not problem. Attachment with the objects are the problem. And very same mind, this is another aspect of the mind. Maya metam tarantit. In Gita, Lord Sri Krishna says, my Maya, my power, my divine power, gives support you for liberation. You don't think that the Lord's divine power only binds you. It liberates you also. Maya metam tarantit. The same mind, it liberates you. Vairasya matra vishayavat suvidhaya pasya. How mind does it? The very same mind creates utter distress for the sense objects, and then we becomes free. These, now see the example of Lord Buddha. Buddha was a king. He had big kingdom, everything, and he had attached also. He had attachment. But suddenly, mind changed suddenly. And if mind changed, everything changed. The kingdom, which was very prosperous, he was attached, but immediately the all kingdom becomes useless, meaningless. Like a poison. Then everything is changed. Vairamasya Vishaya Subidhaya Pasyat Vimocheti Tanmana. The same mind. Mind changed, everything has changed. Objects are same, the world is same, everything is same, you are also same, but your mind has changed. Then everything has changed. And this change takes place immediately. Suddenly, there are so many stories. Immediately, you see, we say that our mind changed and I came back. Our mind changed. I don't agree with you. I agree with you because my mind has changed. So if mind has changed, everything has changed. Shankaracharya says, the world is the same, But your mind if changed, it will liberate you. Now next one. Tasman mana karanam asya jantoh bandhasya mokshasya च विधाने बंधस्य हेतुर मलिनम रजो गुणः मोक्षस्य शुद्धम विरजस्तमस्क. I repeat one more time. तस्मान् मना कारणम अस्य जंतुर बंधस्य मोक्षस्य च वा विधाने बंधस्य हेतुर मलिनम रजो गुणः मोक्षस्य शुद्धम विरजस्तमस्क. See the translation. Therefore, the mind is the cause for both liberation as well as bondage. When it is blemished with the effect of rajas, it causes bondage. When it is free from the rajas and tamas qualities, it paves the way to liberation. See the translation one more time. Therefore, the mind is only cause that brings about men's bondage or liberation. When tempted by the effects of rajas, it leads to bondage, and when pure and divested of the rajas and tamas elements, it conduces to liberation. Now, conclusion is, what is the conclusion? Shankaracharya said, therefore the conclusion has come, the mind is cause for bondage and for liberation. Mind is the gateway of both. You have to take decision where you want to go, how to use mind. It's up to you. You are free. How to use. You take responsibility. If mind is impure, it becomes cause for bondage. Now the question is, what is impurity of the mind? Impurity of the mind. Shankaracharya says, impurity of the mind is bandhasya hetur malinam rajo gunahi. When mind is impure, the impurity of the mind is rajas and tamas gunas dominates. When rajas and tamas gunas dominate the mind becomes impure. This impure mind leads us towards bondage, towards the world, and it projects. We have studied Vikshepa Shakti. So impurity of the mind is cause for bondage. In the very same minds, at different time, both situations can occur. When mind is changed, when mind becomes pure, Vishuddham, pure mind, means Sattva. When Sattva is dominates, slowly, and your mind becomes pure. So purity of the mind is increasing of Sattva. Sattva is cause towards liberation. It is not completely cause for liberation, but it gives you some support. Mokshasya suddham, without rajoguna, without tamoguna, sattoguna, when dominate the mind, this mind becomes cause for liberation. So same minds, same entity, one entity, we call it mind. It is cause for both, for the world and for the liberation. Today, we will take rest here. Thank you. And my blessings to all of you for this New Year 2021. And actually, we are using very perfect way the time. In last year, 2020, we have been studying the Vedanta, and I hope this will continue and we will enjoy the study of the Vedanta. This is the most useful of the time. So thank you for you, my blessings for New Year. Thank you for today.